Hello there and welcome once again to The Verdict. I'm Mick Cornett along with Kent Myers. We're here every week meeting interesting people and dealing with topical issues. And this week we continue our look at some of the candidates that are coming up in Tuesday's elections.
Yes, this coming Tuesday we'll be voting on a number of things in the runoff election, and as we promised, we had Dr. Yen's show on last Sunday. This Sunday we are having on Dr. Steve Kern, Dr. Yen's opponent in the District 40 Republican, won the Republican primary, the two of them did. Now they're in the runoff. And the voters will have a chance to vote either for Dr. Kern or Dr. Yen if they're voting on the Republican side this coming Tuesday.
And always, you know, even if you don't live in State Senate District 40, I think it's interesting to hear candidates, hear the issues that they're facing, because it's not like divergent views across the state of Oklahoma. What one political candidate is hearing in their campaign and their search for that district is likely to be repeated itself throughout the state.
Yeah, issues typically don't stop at 23rd Street or Western.
Right.
There may be a little on both sides, and so, yeah, we think some of the things Dr. Kern's going to be talking about are not only relevant for his race, but for other races as well.
Look forward to it. It's coming up today on The Verdict, and we'll be right back.
What I can offer is insight into understanding the Native American art, how these artists are expressing themselves as cultural people. I am Heather Ottone. I'm a Native American researcher and curator, and I am Chickasaw. I can remember in first grade the teacher saying, "Well, you're so lucky you don't look Indian." That was difficult to hear because it was what I was. It's what I am. I think there's a renaissance going on amongst the tribes. I think the Chickasaws are leading that. We didn't die. We're not gone. So what are we now? And what can we do now to start to form that identity, to survive into another century? And to have the culture guiding us into that future, that would be significant.
See more stories about the Chickasaw people at profilesofnation.com.
It's a North American energy revolution. We're the fastest growing source of new oil and natural gas supplies in the world.
The shift to North American energy will create approximately 3 million jobs.
All that money we've been sending overseas, $400 billion a year. Imagine that staying in our economy. It's a game changer.
Real energy independence starts now, and it starts with Oklahoma.
Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers, and Kent's going to introduce today's guest.
Today, as we promised, we're bringing you the other candidate in the Senate District 40 Republican runoff election, Dr. Steve Kern. Dr. Kern did his undergraduate work at Palm Beach Atlantic University, did his master's and his DMin degree at Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary in Fort Worth. He is a Vietnam veteran, a veteran of the Marine Corps. He has been the pastor at Olivet Baptist Church here in Oklahoma City for the past 18 years, and of course had other pastorates before that. He is an adjunct professor at Midwestern University here in Oklahoma City, and he is the remaining candidate of the two for Senate District 40. Welcome, Dr. Kern. Glad to have you.
Well, I tell you what, I'm glad to be here, and I appreciate you all giving me the opportunity to come. I wanted to say congratulations to the mayor for his induction into the Sports Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
Well,
indeed.
that's-
Congratulations.
No, I appreciate that very much.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your race. You emerged as one of the top 2 vote getters in the general and are in the primary,
Right.
and now you've gone into a runoff. What have you been doing? What does a candidate do in the few weeks they have remaining?
Well, first of all, I've been trying to knock doors for all of the absentee voters because they're basically, they vote early. So you want to try to get to their doors ahead of time. And then I've been in the process of raising money, having to have more mail-outs now. I'm running a grassroots campaign, and so I don't have huge amounts of money, but it does take money to do campaigns, as well, you know, Mayor.
Well, there's a science to it. Who votes in a primary runoff election?
Well, in the primary runoff election, normally the people that voted in the primary, you're going to have maybe about 2/3 of those that will actually vote in the runoff. One of the things I think that we have going in our particular race is the fact that the District 5 races also has a runoff, which will be Steve Russell and Patrice Douglas. So that's going to be a draw as well. But that's the real challenge for both candidates, is getting your base out to vote. They're the ones, because you're not going to have all of the folks that voted in the primary get out and vote in the runoff. So it's important to get the message out.
We have a map of District 40. I thought we'd pull it up, and if you can kind of briefly explain the boundaries roughly, and if you look over at the monitor here, it should be showing up momentarily. You know, when you talk about getting out and walking doorsteps, I mean, that can be an exhaustive chore.
Yeah.
And here's where you've been.
Yes. And to be honest with you, before the primary, I covered every one of the doors of all of the primary voters, 7,000 doors. And you can see that the district actually runs on the east side from Classen, and then it moves over to Western going north. From Northwest 23rd is the southern part of the district. Then it goes all the way up to Britton Road, and across Britton Road over to Lake Hefner, down underneath Lake Hefner on Wilshire, back down MacArthur Boulevard to Northwest 23rd as well, and just having that little junket there to the west that goes into Bethany.
Could be described as sort of the near northwest in Oklahoma City.
Northwest, all of Nichols Hills, South Village, some of the War Acres, and part of Bethany.
I looked at your website and some of your campaign issues, and one that caught my eye that I'd like to ask you about. It was rather abbreviated, but I'd be interested in what you think about. You phrase it as the sanctity of life. What do you have in mind there?
Well, I believe that man is created in the image of God, that life is a gift from God, and that actually we are to protect life, that life is something that is special, and that is something that is a gift, that we have a responsibility to protect each other's right to live, to life. That's what our Declaration of Independence says, that we are we have these rights that come from God, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
And what issues do those generally bring out, the sanctity of life issues?
Well, it brings out the idea of family. It also brings out the idea of capital punishment, the responsibility of the government to protect life. We want to make or have an environment, the government's responsible to have a government that basically does protect life. And of course, it involves the abortion issue, and whether or not the country is responsible to protect the child from conception. When does that child actually become a citizen of the United States? My take on that is the moment that a child is conceived, that person is a human being. You know, we protect eagles when they're still in the egg because they're considered to be already an eagle. And I think that ought to be true of human beings as well.
What about end-of-life issues? Do those come up?
Well, yeah, end-of-life issues are very important. I think that we ought to protect life until God himself determines when that life should end. It's not our determination. It's God's the giver of life, and he should be the one who then determines when our life should end.
I presume these issues are not simply political issues in this race. They're issues you deal with in your congregation every day.
Oh yes, that's what I preach, that's what I teach, how that we need to respect life, we need to respect one another, that every person is, because they're in the image of God, they deserve dignity. And of course, being an inner city church, we have a lot of people that come to our doors for help. They need food, they need clothes, they need bus passes, they sit underneath our tree outside the church. We give them water. Mm-hmm. And those people deserve just as much dignity because each one of them is a human being. We try to show them dignity as much. Anyone that comes into our church, we try to treat them as equals.
Mm-hmm. Give us an idea when you step on a person's porch and you're hoping to get their vote, how does a conversation usually take place? I assume you introduce yourself first, and then what typically happens?
Yes, I tell them I'm Dr. Steve Kern. I'm running for the State Senate District 40, and my objective is I want to keep Oklahoma being Oklahoma. I really appreciate the fact I've heard you introduce yourself several times, Mayor, and you always refer to Oklahoma City as a faith-based community, and I think that resonates with a lot of people, that Oklahoma is still a part of the buckle belt of the Bible Belt, or the buckle of the Bible Belt. And, but then I talk about I want to protect, I'm concerned about spending, I'm concerned about states' rights. There's a lot of government intrusion, Obamacare, Common Core, a lot of the issues, the EPA issues, those kinds of things that we need to have a strong resistance in our governor, and our governor needs to be backed up by the legislature to take a stand against things when it comes to protecting our rights.
The other thing, and we just have a few seconds before we go to a break, but we can come back to it as we need to. Mm-hmm. You mentioned that you were concerned about the preservation of the rights under the Second Amendment. What do you kind of have reference to there?
Of course, the Second Amendment was established by founding fathers, meaning that each individual person has the right to protect themselves, their property. We believe in the ownership of property, and if we own property, we have the right to protect that property. And so it should be then, each individual person should have the right and the freedom to carry the kind of arms that they need, that they feel that they need in order to protect themselves, protect their life, protect their property, protect their family. Another thing about that too is the Second Amendment thing is very unique in the world, and it's what keeps the government under control when they realize that the electorate they all have guns, Mm-hmm. And when you have communism and those kinds of governments trying to take over, the first thing they try to do is take away the people's guns. But and so that's one of the things that helps us to preserve our rights as a free people.
Dr. Steve Kern is running for the State Senate in Oklahoma City's District 40. We'll be right back with more of Dr. Kern.
When you have something important to communicate, it becomes clear that there's a lot of competition for your audience's attention. So how can your message stand out and actually resonate with your audience? Legal Graphics has the answers. The team at Legal Graphics will work with you to plan, design, and even test your presentation to ensure your message will be heard and remembered. Call Legal Graphics today to schedule an appointment. The readiness is all.
The good life comes naturally to Tulsa, where nature's beauty is matched with an eye for aesthetics. A legacy of neighborhoods graced with lawns and landscaping and handsome homes. A place that seems to have patented an ideal lifestyle. Bank First is loyal to the quality of life Tulsa assures its citizens, to the priority placed on education, culture, and growth. Loyal to builders who transform raw land into residential charm. Developers who see opportunity and add vitality to Tulsa's economy. Bank First serves both enterprise and private lives that need a loyal partner. It's how we help nurture this city's very good life. Bank First. Loyal to Oklahoma. Loyal to you.
Welcome back to the Set of the Verdict. We are continuing our look at candidates in the Senate District 40 in Oklahoma City's runoff election, which takes place on Tuesday. And Dr. Steve Kern is our guest today. Dr. Kern, you're a candidate in this race, and I would assume not just the issues are what people are concerned about. They want to know, well, who is Steve Kern? Where did he come from? What are his life experiences that might give us more information about how he might represent us?
Well, Mick and Kent, my story is really a grassroots story. And it starts with a grassroots mom who taught me how to overcome adversity. I'm the youngest of 5 children, and when my mother was a young 20-year-old mother of 5 children, she was deserted by her husband. And she worked 2 and 3 jobs, doing everything she could do to keep the family together, without entitlements, without help from outside sources, the family help, those kinds of things. And she was determined to keep the family together. And that's always meant a lot to me. It wasn't long after that she met George Kern, who married my mother and adopted all 5 of us. So actually my name Kern is actually the adopted name. Now when I was 11 years old, growing up in Phoenix, Arizona, I was shot with a .22 pistol 5 times, 3 in the back, 2 in the arm, and that experience basically helped me to learn the value of life and also the power of prayer, because there were a lot of people praying for me, and it was a miraculous way.
What were the circumstances of you getting
Well,
shot?
it was 2 young boys messing around with a gun they shouldn't have been messing around with, and that is a concern.
Okay.
And so that I have. But anyway, after that, my parents actually divorced when I was a senior in high school. I graduated from high school, and my parents divorced the same month that I graduated. And that put me on my own. I was on my own from then on. And so I joined the Marine Corps. 4 years in the Marine Corps. Spent 18 months in Vietnam, and while I was there, I had a non-combatant injury that put me on the hospital ship for 6 weeks, and I really saw the ravages of war there. And in that process, I also got a Dear John letter. Have you ever heard of Dear John letters? We're talking about facing adversity. But that was a good thing, because that made it possible for me to meet Sally Rogers, who was the head cheerleader at Wayland Baptist College and University in Texas. And after we got married, I went to work. And I've done just about everything there is. I've been a carpenter, I've been a mechanic, auto mechanic, I've been a wallpaper hanger, I've put in swimming pools, I've worked on the docks, loading and unloading trucks, doing all different kinds of things, plumbing. And in the process of that, that's when I earned my degree in psychology and sociology, bachelor's degree, and then a master's degree of divinity. All the time working, and then by then having 2 kids, and then becoming a pastor. And I've been a pastor now for 34 years. I earned my Doctor of Ministries degree. I wanted to get a Doctor of Ministries degree because it's a practical degree that as a pastor would help me to become someone that really can be involved in practical ministries, causing the church to get outside of its 4 walls and make a difference in the community. That was my heart. And so I've been doing that for 34 years, and of course I've been at Olivet now for 18 years, and I consider myself to be, since being at Olivet Baptist Church, what I call a ministry entrepreneur. And while I've been there at Olivet, downtown inner city church, I've started all kinds of ministries. We will have as many as 50 ministries going on at the same time in our church, just meeting all different kinds of needs. I've started a 501c3 organization that has homes for homeless mothers with children. We've helped 1,300 mothers and children get off the street. We started a thrift store. I opened a thrift store to help pay for that. We didn't want to receive any government funding. We try to do it all just on the basis of free grants and gifts. I started a program, inner city program for kids, a football program. There's 250 kids in that program now. And they've been doing that for about 10 years. Also, I have literacy programs at our church. We've got a clinic, medical clinic through Integris Health. All these different kinds of things we're trying to do to take the gospel outside of the church and to express it in practical kinds of ways, to let people know that, yeah, they are important and we think they're important. But the thing that I really want people to see from all of that is this. You don't stay at a church for 18 years, especially a Southern Baptist church, unless you know how to work with people. And I wanted to share all these different things that we've accomplished there at Olivet through our ministry to show that I know how to get things done. I know how to work through the process. I know how to be patient. I know how to how does it say in the old song? You got to know when to throw them, know when to fold them, type of a deal.
Right.
That works in politics. Works in pastoring too. So anyway, that's the thing that I wanted people to know about. I'm a grassroots person. I come from the bottom up, and have worked hard. And I'm not afraid of work. I love it.
We got just a couple of minutes more in your show. I wanted you have an opportunity to talk about. You say on your website that you believe smaller government, lower taxes.
Exactly.
You have opinions, I'm sure, on education and how the business sector is taxed. I'd love for you to get into that in the next 30 seconds to a minute if you can.
Okay, well, I do believe in a balanced budget. I do believe that we need to protect small businesses and to continue to incorporate free enterprise kinds of principles. I'm glad that the Common Core was repealed. I think Oklahoma can come up with their own kinds of standards. I want to be a part of helping those kinds of standards. I've taught in colleges and things myself. I really would like to see instead of our education being something that's just one size fits all, we need to have an education that basically is raising up kids that can think for themselves and critical thinking, those kinds of things. I'm also concerned about veterans. I'm being a veteran myself, and too, values. I want to maintain values. I think that, some people say, oh, well, we need to get away from the values and that kind of thing. But really, one of the things that I say in the pulpit is I say, God says, if you'll take care of the morality, I'll take care of the prosperity. And that's the way it's been in this country. And that's the way when you look at history, countries that maintain their morality prosper. And when they start getting away from that, they lose their prosperity.
Yeah. Do you think you get much sleep Monday night?
Well, I don't know that I'll pull a Truman. Remember Truman sleeping that night? I'll just have to just do all I can to win and then leave the results to God.
It's District 40. Dr. Yen last week on our show, Dr. Kern this week on our show. We wish both candidates good luck and know the voters will make the right decision at the end of the day. Dr. Kern, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you so
for letting
much.
me come.
And
Yeah.
Kent and I'll have a final word after this.
The human body, an amazing machine. What we're capable of is astonishing. If we look to what makes us human, we find that life is more than a heartbeat, and hope is more than an idea. That knowledge moves us forward, and our community keeps us together. OU Medicine is at its heart, keeping Oklahoma alive and well.
All children deserve a life of hope and love, but sometimes they experience a life of pain, neglect, and abuse.
When that happens, each child deserves all the quality assistance and representation that can be offered in our legal system. For more information, call 23-CHILD.
Oklahoma Lawyers for Children, helping to bring hope and love back to the lives of abused children.
You will always be Mom and Dad to me.
I think for us, once we got started and we began to see the tremendous need just within our state, it really was just a calling for us. The blessings far outweigh any obstacles that we've faced.
You will always be Mom and Dad to me.
The Journal-Record is pleased to be a sponsor of The Verdict. The Journal-Record, since 1903, the best source of Oklahoma business news and legal information.
And for almost 30 years, Oklahoma political, government, and business leaders have turned to the McCarville Report for accurate, reliable, inside information. Visit the McCarville Report online.
Viewers across the state of Oklahoma watch this show. We would urge you to get out and vote on Tuesday.
Yeah, we have at least 3 locally, some races that I know you're interested in. Of course, we've just completed our show with Dr. Kern and Dr. Yen on the Republican side of Senate District 40. We have, of course, also shown you the 2 candidates in the Democratic side for State School Superintendent, Dr. Cox and Dr. Deskin. And we encourage you to get out. Of course, the other race that we haven't done anything about is the 5th Congressional District race with Steve Russell and Patrice Douglas. We hope that you'll pay attention to those races and go vote.
That's right, absolutely. And there are no doubt races in all parts of the state, and we urge you to be a part of it. We also have some website information. Dr. Kern was our guest on today's show. His website information for his campaign is stevekern4senate.com. Steve Kern, like it sounds, the 4 is the number 4, and then senate.com. And we have a website as well. We'd love you to go to our show's website and talk to us about a guest you'd like to see on an upcoming show or a topic you'd like to see us discussed. We'll get that feedback and have it then. Yeah. We'll see you later.